AITA for refusing to let my sister's new boyfriend move in with us after she and I lost our parents. My sister and I lost our parents in a car accident about 6 months ago. It was sudden and completely devastating. We were left alone, both in our mid-20s, with no other immediate family around. Since then, we've been leaning on each other a lot. We live together in the family home, which is a modest house in a small town where we both grew up. It's been tough, but it's also been comforting to have each other. My sister, let's call her Emily, has always been the more outgoing one. I'm more reserved and like my space. After the accident, Emily struggled more than I did. She's been having a really hard time dealing with the grief and has been seeing a counselor. I support her in this because I want her to heal, but I can tell she's still pretty lost. About 3 months ago, Emily started dating someone new. His name is Mike. I met him a few times, and honestly, I wasn't sure what to think. Mike is charming and friendly on the surface, but something about him rubbed me the wrong way. He seems a little too eager to be involved in our lives, and often comes off as pushy, especially when it comes to the house and family matters. Emily has been talking about moving Mike in with us for a while now. She says it would help her feel less lonely, and that it would be nice to have someone else around since it's just the two of us living here. I get where she's coming from, but I really don't want a third person moving into the house, especially someone I'm not close to and don't fully trust. The house feels like the last piece of our old family life, and I want to keep it as a safe and calm place, especially for Emily. I told Emily that I'm not comfortable with Mike moving in and that we should take things slow. I suggested she spend more time with him outside the house, and that maybe when we all get to know each other better, we can revisit the idea. But Emily was upset. She said I was being unreasonable and that I didn't understand how hard it is for her to be alone. She also said that Mike has been a huge support for her and that I was being selfish by not letting him stay. Since then, tensions have risen between us. Emily has been more distant and spends most of her time with Mike. She even said I was making the house feel cold and unwelcoming. I try to explain that it's not about being cold, but about needing to protect my own mental space and the last memories I have of our parents. I'm also worried that if Mike moves in, the dynamic between the two of us will change, and I don't want to lose my sister to someone else so soon after our loss. Our friends have weighed in too. Some say I'm being selfish and that I should be more supportive of Emily's needs. Others say it's okay to set boundaries and that Emily might be rushing into things. I'm torn because I want my sister to be happy and not lonely, but I also feel like my own feelings and the house's atmosphere matter. Last weekend, Emily told me she's moving out to be with Mike. She said she can't stay where she feels unwelcome and that maybe I should consider what's best for our family, not just my own comfort. I didn't want this to happen, but I also don't want to force her to stay somewhere she doesn't want to be. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend move in after we lost our parents? Was I too harsh or selfish in trying to protect the house and my own feelings? Or is it understandable to want to keep our shared home as a space for just the two of us while we heal? If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé walk down the aisle after what he did at our family gathering. So, this has been a massive drama bomb in my family, and I'm still reeling from it. I honestly don't even know how to start without giving a ton of background. So buckle up. I, 32F, have a younger sister, Emma, 28F. We've always been pretty close despite some typical sibling squabbles growing up. Emma has been dating her fiancé, Mark, 30M, for about 3 years now. I've never been a huge fan of Mark. Not because of anything super obvious like him being rude or anything, but there was just always something about him that didn't sit right with me. I chalked it up to sibling protective instincts and never said much about it because I don't like starting drama. Emma, on the other hand, has been absolutely smitten with Mark, and I genuinely wanted her to be happy. Last weekend, our entire family gathered at my parents' house for what was supposed to be a weekend full of celebration. Emma and Mark announced their engagement officially last month, and this weekend was meant to be a fun pre-wedding family bonding event. Everyone was supposed to relax, eat well, and enjoy each other's company. What happened, though, turned the whole thing upside down. It all started during dinner on Saturday night. There were about 15 of us at the table, including my parents, my sister's fiancé, my brother and his girlfriend, a couple of cousins, and a few close family friends. The mood was generally warm and happy, with a lot of catching up and laughter. Mark was sitting next to Emma, of course, and at first everything seemed fine. But then, out of nowhere, Mark started to make some comments about my younger nephew, Ben, who's 8 years old and has mild autism. Ben was sitting on my lap at the time because he's a bit shy around large groups, and Mark said something like, kids like that are just weird. I don't get how people can deal with them. Everyone around the table went quiet. I think my mouth actually fell open because I was so stunned. Emma's face changed instantly, but she didn't say anything right away. My mom tried to change the subject quickly, but Mark just kept going. He said that people with autism are basically defective and implied that it's the parents' fault for coddling them too much. At this point, my brother stood up and told Mark that what he said was incredibly offensive and untrue. Mark responded with a smirk and said he was entitled to his opinion and that people are too sensitive these days. The argument got heated, and I decided to step in because I couldn't just let him insult my nephew and basically my entire family's values. I told Mark that he needed to apologize immediately or leave the dinner. Emma was visibly torn, but eventually told Mark that she didn't agree with what he said and asked him to be respectful. Mark scoffed, said he wasn't going to apologize, and stormed out of the room. Here's where things got even messy. After Mark left the dining room, my parents tried to calm everyone down, but Emma was obviously upset and said she needed to get some fresh air. I followed her outside, and she told me that Mark has a history of being unfiltered and blunt, but she didn't think it was that bad. She said that I was overreacting and that I was ruining what was supposed to be a happy family event. I told her that Mark's comments were deeply hurtful and unacceptable, especially about Ben. Emma said that if I couldn't accept Mark, then maybe I was the problem. The next day, Mark showed up again, seemingly ready to pretend the whole thing didn't happen. I refused to engage with him, and Emma got visibly annoyed with me. She told me that I needed to apologize for causing a scene and that Mark was going to be part of the family, whether I liked it or not. I stood my ground and said that I wouldn't accept anyone who disrespects my family, especially a child. Fast forward to today. Emma is insisting that I allow Mark to walk her down the aisle at their wedding, which is coming up in 2 months. Apparently, it's something Mark really wants because his own father isn't involved in his life, so he wants that moment to be special. I told Emma flat out that no way was I going to let Mark walk her down the aisle. I'm not comfortable with giving him that kind of honor after what he said and how he acted. I told her she could walk herself down the aisle or have someone else do it, but not Mark. She's furious and claims I'm sabotaging her wedding and being petty. She also said if I don't back off, she might reconsider whether to invite me to the wedding at all. I feel like I'm being reasonable. I want to protect my family and especially Ben, who has done nothing wrong and is loved by everyone. I don't think I should be forced to pretend everything is fine with Mark just for the sake of a wedding tradition. So, AITA for refusing to let my sister's fiancé walk her down the aisle after his hurtful comments and behavior. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treated my daughter. This is going to be a long one, so bear with me. I'm a 38-year-old woman, and I have a 10-year-old daughter named Emma. My sister, Sarah, is 34, and she's getting married in a few months. For some context, Sarah and I have always had a complicated relationship. We grew up in the same household, but we're never close. Our personalities are very different, and while I'm more laid-back and nurturing, Sarah has always been more controlling and perfectionistic. When Sarah announced her engagement last year, I was happy for her, but I also knew it might bring some drama. She has a very particular vision for her wedding, and it became clear very quickly that she wanted everything to be perfect and to run her way. I wasn't surprised, just a little wary. The first major issue came when she asked Emma to be a flower girl. At first, I thought it was sweet because Emma loves fairy tales and dressing up. But then Sarah started laying down very strict rules about what Emma could and couldn't do. Emma has a mild sensory processing disorder, which means she can be sensitive to certain fabrics, noises, and environments. I've always tried to accommodate her needs to make sure she's comfortable. When Sarah sent us the dress, it was made of a scratchy material and had a tight waistband that I knew Emma would hate. I told Sarah about Emma's sensitivities and asked if we could find a softer fabric or a different dress. Sarah flat out refused and said that everyone else was wearing this dress, so Emma would have to deal with it. I tried to explain gently that Emma might have a meltdown or be miserable during the ceremony, but Sarah said that it was her day and that Emma should be able to follow simple instructions. I didn't want to create conflict, so I tried to soften the dress with fabric softener and put a slip underneath, hoping that would help. Next, Sarah demanded that Emma memorize a specific Flower Girl poem to recite during the ceremony. Emma is shy and struggles with public speaking, but Sarah insisted it was non-negotiable and that Emma had weeks to practice. I offered to help Emma practice, but she got upset and said Emma wasn't trying hard enough. Emma started getting anxious, crying at night, and telling me she didn't want to be in the wedding anymore. I tried to comfort her and even told Sarah that if Emma felt too stressed, maybe she could just walk down the aisle without the poem, but Sarah refused and threatened to remove Emma from the wedding entirely. Around this time, my husband and I started noticing that Emma was having nightmares and panic attacks. We took her to a therapist who confirmed that the wedding-related stress was really affecting her mental health. I reached out to Sarah again and asked if we could talk about making accommodations for Emma, explaining that if Emma felt better, she could participate happily. Sarah said she would think about it, but didn't follow up. A few weeks later, Sarah called me furious because Emma had told her she didn't want to say the poem. Sarah accused me of spoiling Emma and said I was undermining her authority. She told me she was reconsidering Emma's role and that maybe Emma shouldn't be involved if she wasn't willing to do it properly. At this point, I felt like Sarah was being incredibly unfair and cruel to my daughter. I told Sarah I was seriously considering pulling Emma from the wedding entirely because I wouldn't subject my child to such stress. Sarah said I was being dramatic and selfish and that I was making it all about Emma instead of her special day. A couple of weeks ago, Sarah held a dress fitting for all the bridesmaids and flower girls. Emma started having a meltdown because of the dress again, and I tried to calm her down. Sarah snapped at me in front of everyone, saying, "Maybe Emma just isn't cut out for this. You need to discipline her better." It was humiliating, and Emma was visibly upset. That night, Emma told me she hated Sarah and didn't want anything to do with her wedding. I felt awful. I decided that if Sarah couldn't treat Emma kindly and accommodate her needs, I would not bring Emma to the wedding. I told Sarah this, explaining that Emma's mental health came first, and if Sarah couldn't respect that, we wouldn't attend. Sarah exploded and accused me of being the villain, saying I was ruining her wedding and that I was overreacting. Now, some family members are saying I'm in the wrong for causing a scene and not supporting Sarah on her big day. Others say I'm protecting my daughter and standing up to unfair treatment. I'm torn because I don't want to miss my sister's wedding, but I also can't put Emma through that kind of distress. So, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of how she treated my daughter?